Thank you so much again for invitation, also in organizing this great event and discussions so far. The topic of this section is all about socio-economic drivers of the regional crisis. And when we talk about this several terms, the head of this or the top of this topic is, first of all, the social contract is broken in the region in many ways, in many different societies. That's the number one issue to talk maybe. Then economic drivers, and what drivers we are going to talk about, because we don't have fundamentals and structural institutions are missed in the states and governments around the region. So there are a lot of elements we need to maybe talk about, but now this region unfortunately created having a kind of postmodern problem, which is more than just simple migration or refugee issue, in which is much more humanitarian. But lately, we know that the major powers kind of playground in the region. Then people are the victims of this whole game or whatever the proxy wars or whatever we can call. But at the end, we have many people are suffering right now, and we call them right now the Syrian refugees. What I like to do is a kind of case to talk about a certain crisis, which is regional problem. It's not Turkish, it's not Egyptian, it's not Lebanese or Jordan's, but it's a regional issue. Then the topic is totally fits this, the case totally fits this title. So which is Syrian crisis and Syrian refugees in Turkey. How we deal with them and how we help those folks, those let's say guests for us, and then a little bit further the discussions that economically, financial and labor market issues, especially with this newcomers to our country. Let me bring some numbers to your attention, even though I don't like talk about numbers a lot, because when we talk about humans, our sisters, brothers, and many vulnerable people around us, I don't like always talking about numbers, but numbers mean something today. Since the Syrian crisis or civil war started in 2011, which created around 11 million people displaced from their own homes, houses, neighborhoods. 4.8 total right now, the current numbers, official numbers, 4.8 million of them are living in different countries, different neighborhoods, different region, country, states, seeking help. And 6.1 million of them are internally displaced within Syria. So when we talk about IDP equals 6.1, refugees around 5 million, and then total loss of or the people change their places around 11 million. It's easy to say, but the realities on the ground are much more, let's say, horrible. When we look at the distribution of these numbers, especially 5 million around people seeking refuge in different countries, up to Turkey bears a big portion of these Syrian refugees. Currently, Turkey hosts 2.73 million Syrian refugees. 2.73, 2,730,000. And in addition to this, of course, we have 300,000 Iraqi refugees, so total makes up around 3 million. Other than Turkey, Lebanon hosts 0.3, almost 1 million. Jordan, 656,000. Egypt, 114,000. The numbers is UNHCR's numbers. And Iraq, 239,000 Syrian refugees. When we look at the whole group's distribution in terms of population and the ages, briefly we can say that under 18 years old population makes up 46% of 5 million Syrian refugees in these countries. 46%. That means those kids needs special attention in education in normal needs and daily needs and everything. The working age group consists of 50% of them. 50% means that, let's say, 18 to 59 years old. And the rest, only 3% is over 60 years. So that means that we are talking about less elderly, but more of them are either subject to labor markets or educational services or some other social services in the region. So when we talk about countries, Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, Egypt, and Jordan, for instance, in generally speaking, Iraq as well, we are talking about right now state capacity. Which state has enough capacity to serve this many people in addition to their own needs for own population? So that's the regional crisis and the social dilemma that right now this region should face. In Turkey, little further information about how we deal with this many Syrian guests, Syrian sisters and brothers in our country. We have less people living in, I don't want to call them camps, temporary accommodation centers. The camps means something else. It's psychologically means like people stuck in some places without having any further motivation or opportunities for the future of their life. So in terms of using camps, we use temporary protection centers or accommodation centers. Anyhow, we have around 44, 46 of them actively used, and now around only 254,000 of Syrian refugees live in these temporary protection centers. The rest of them, meaning 2.4 million of them are living among us. 2.4. When we go to this one of the temporary protection centers and show them how useful all these containers and they have balconies and they have all the facilities, all the services available for them, we are talking about a very small portion, 10% of them, but we need to talk about 90% of them, how they live and how they embrace in societies and local population and local cultures, in general speaking. We don't have that much issues so far. In 5 years, especially 2013 and 14 are big years for us jumping these numbers in Turkey. Many international commentaries or let's say specialists writing on these issues were waiting for a kind of social conflict, but it did not happen. It's breakthrough, number one. So, socioeconomic drives of the region, sometimes we have more than what we got, which is intuition of people helping each other. So, thinking about it, Arabic-speaking neighbor come to your neighborhood, renting a house, sending his kids or her kids to your school, and you still don't have any problem with that. So that's great. That's the kind of problem or the issue that we can talk about, and especially today, many times talk about social contract, broken social contract. That means there are ways to go through and hope more about these people, from these people. So that's a good deal. So in general speaking, of course, we need to talk about which local areas are, let's say, hosting more and more people in Syrian refugees or guests. Istanbul is number one because Istanbul itself is the metropolitan and it's the biggest city of the Turkey, and then, of course, it's attractive, wealthy enough, or kind of maybe the somewhat, looking for more opportunities in metropolitan city. Many Syrians try to come to Istanbul and try to survive. And now around 400,000 of them lives in Istanbul. In addition to Istanbul's crowd. Think about the local needs and infrastructure needs and everything. The rest of the population, we talk about 2.4 million, rest of the population lives in the border cities. And border cities, if you follow Turkish politics and Turkish regional issues, is already suffering some sort of political dilemmas and social dilemmas somewhat in coming, maybe short political history 10 decades ago, 20 decades earlier, which is kind of suffered for a long time, and then the latest Turkish, especially with the AKP government, the new trade kind of relations with the Mid East kind of let these cities prosper. Then first Iraqi crisis, then Syrian crisis, let everything down. This border city people residents already suffered their own causes. Then Syrian refugees came to these border cities, and in addition to this stagnation or this whatever that economic issues they were dealing with, and refugees are with them as well. So these are kind of examples I would like to bring, that the cases we are talking about in Turkey, we know better than other countries. And let's think about other, state capacity, lower state capacity countries, like Jordan and Lebanon. How they are going to deal with this? This is a big deal. How they can approach this problem, it's a big deal for them. So, I just would like to bring your attention that for any developed countries, there's an international view to approach this issue. For them, the term they use, the refugee, migrants, asylum seekers, is just someone from us out different parts of the world needs some help, and they seek this help from their immediate neighbors. Then whenever it's immediate for, even though they're immediate for their neighbor countries, but for them it's kind of distant problem. So they can call it international issue. When we have extra cash, we can help them. If we have political, balance, we can help them, or something like that. It's a very distant issue for them. So when we talk about economic and financial donor organizations in terms of international arena, for them it's a kind of extra work, extra burden, just when they want and if they want. That's the issue we need to look for this to solve this issue and ask international attention. So that's their view. For local, for national or neighbor hosting countries, refugee hosting countries, it's always a national problem. Because they have their own economic and social issues or political issues, whatever. Then in addition to this, they added up new problems which were out of nowhere. Because Syrian crisis is not the problem of Turkey, but it's regional problem, international problem, but we have the burden to overcome. Same thing for other countries. So this is a kind of issue that what we look for, which angle we look at this issue, we have different problems, different maybe drivers of this problem. And the regional, of course, local issues also very important, but if I have second round, I would like to maybe talk about a little further how we would like the international community should approach this issue. First, we need to talk about that. And then, of course, we have some lessons learned in Turkey to deal with youth, especially school-age people, how to make them come to school back. Because we have almost right now 400,000 school-age kids are far away from schools. They are out of school more than 4 years. So it's difficult to get them back. There is a problem of, or the dangers of being a lost generation for them and getting the wrong hands of radicalism or extremism. So there's other social and economic issues. If we have chance, I would like to talk about.